Rice.
Thanks, Madam Deputy President. I seek to take note of the Rural and Regional Affairs and Transport Committee report on coastal trading revitalising Australian Shipping Amendment Bill 2017. And it's notable that the type—
Just a moment, Senator Rice. It really is the selection of Bill's committee report, and there'll be an opportunity to speak on that when it comes on. But if you want to speak now, you do need to seek leave.
Okay, I thought Senator Sterle spoke
He
to
sought
it.
leave.
Okay. Okay. Well, I seek leave to speak to it now.
Is leave granted? Is it a point of order, Senator McDonald?
Yes, but when is the bill coming? When is the report actually being tabled?
It was tabled earlier today, Senator McDonald. But by convention, we wait until the bills come on.
Okay.
So the question is leave granted? I don't think leave— Yes, it is granted. Leave is granted. Senator Rice.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Deputy President. So, look, the Greens, in taking note and speaking to this report, note that the name of the legislation is Coastal Trading Revitalising Australian Shipping, and note that the last thing this legislation is actually going to do will be to revitalise Australian shipping. I've been in the Senate for 3.5 years, and the issue of Australian coastal shipping has been on the agenda all of those 3.5 years, and it's been used as a political football. We have seen shipping sort of being washed backwards and forwards by the government, wave after wave of changes, being hit by constant crash of wave after wave of resultant job losses, and losses of Australian-owned and Australian-flagged ships. Australia should have a successful coastal shipping sector. We are an island nation. We export and import so much of our goods. But this legislation, like the government's previous attempt to change our coastal shipping legislation, which was rejected by this Senate, is not going to be the catalyst that causes Australian shipping to be revitalised. And basically it's because in order to do that, it's going to require leadership from the government to actually say that just leaving it to the market to determine what the direction of Australian coastal shipping is not going to deliver the changes that we require. Because if we leave it to the market, we have seen what happens. What happens is that it's a race to the bottom in terms of reducing costs, trying to do things at the cheapest possible rate, to be employing seafarers from around the world on extremely low wages, on extremely poor conditions, to be cutting corners so that you end up with ships that are at high risk of polluting our precious coastal and marine environments. In order to change that, we've actually got to say have the government to put some controls in place to send the industry off into a different direction, and to say that this reducing costs environment is not delivering in the national interest. It's interesting that after the last government's attempt at changing the legislation was defeated in the Senate, the industry itself said we needed to have certainty. That's what we heard when we last went through this. Above all, what they wanted was some certainty. They wanted to have a direction that we were going in. They didn't want the shipping industry to continue to be used as a political football. And there was some incredible leadership that was shown by the shipping sector, in particularly by MIAL, Marine Industries Australia Limited, who got stakeholders from across the sector together over a series of workshops over many months to say, come on, let's all work together. We're not getting leadership from the government, so let us as the sector work together and work out what can we agree on the ways forward for coastal shipping. And they put together a very comprehensive report, a green paper on coastal shipping, which had support from right across the shipping sector. So you would think having that as a resource document, and having had the experience of previously having legislation knocked back by this Senate, that the government would have seen that as an opportunity to really move forward in a different direction. And we had hoped that that was what was going to occur, that we had a change of minister. We had a new minister that came in that seemed to be more interested in talking to stakeholders and working out the most appropriate way forward that was going to deliver for Australian jobs, that was going to deliver for Australian industry, that was going to deliver for the Australian environment. But sadly, the legislation that is being proposed is just a continuation of the same. And if this legislation gets passed, we know that it's just going to continue the decline. It means that we'll effectively have no Australian shipping sector, which would be an outrageous thing to occur, given the potential of the sector for Australia. So, in speaking to this report today, what I want to do is to implore the government to actually not continue to move down this path of the race to the bottom, of having coastal shipping being used as a political football and just ending up with a total destruction of Australian jobs and Australian involvement in our shipping industry. We need to reject this legislation. We need to use the resources that are out there, the willingness across the sector to be working together, to be working out what is the best way forward, with government working together with those stakeholders and recognising that there is a strong role for government here. And it's only by having the government working together with the industry, with unions, with all range of organisations involved in this issue, that we will be able to realise a positive future for the Australian coastal shipping industry. But the direction we're heading in at the moment is just more of the same. It's where we do not need to be going. If we work together, there really is the potential of having a very positive way forward, that we can be sort of steaming away and steaming forward to a really positive and productive Australian industry. And I urge the government to listen to the sector and to move forward in that direction.